episode, we're going to show you a way for you to make a ring that you thought wasn't usable or wasn't sizable into one that was, and it's one that you can do the work yourself. I'm going to show you how when you purchase, which you can get at many hobby stores, and you'd be clever enough to figure out where. Many times your jewelry store will sell them to you for a lot less than if they installed them. There's something you can install yourself. They're the little ring guards that fold into the inside of the ring that will make it smaller for you. I also have a very special one that allows those of us with knuckle issues, where the knuckle is bigger than the part behind the finger, to be able to use a spring-loaded ring guard that will expand upon putting your knuckle through it, and it moves back into position afterwards. What we have are two of the rings that we're going to be actually putting these devices on, if that's what you want to call them. Here you may actually recognize that that is the most common of the ring guards that are put into rings with narrower shanks, the shank being the portion around the bottom of the ring. We're going to install that in this bonitoite ring and show you how easy it is for you to do yourself. In the second one, this is an antique ring. We're going to imagine that it's got an engraving from the day Grandma was married, and it's something you would never want sized, but it would need to be sized down, yet you also have a big knuckle issue. Well, this particular piece installs on the inside of the ring. The yellow metal can actually be polished off to make it match white for the white gold ring. And we're going to show you, once it's installed, how it springs further open when you push your knuckle through it and back into position afterwards. Okay, with this opposing sided insert, how you do it is you put in the one side first, and then the other side will come around the outside part. Therefore, very easy to quickly lock it in place. You can just take your finger and push against the edge of it like that, the edge of it over on the other side. All you want to do is create it in an area that will keep it in place, which only takes a light effort of bending. Then we're going to center it and tighten up on those very easily bent pieces of metal. This is a base metal designed to be bent without breaking. Now, let's further complete the job. We want to make sure we center the piece so that it is correctly horizontal with the rest of the ring, and adjustments can continue to be made in that way if it shifts during the bending process. Now, you can continue to bend it with your finger, but if you're a little bit more adept with pliers, at this point, you can get a tighter finish and closing if you'll take a pair of needle nose pliers. Now, only keep the pliers on the jacket. If you touch the ring, you may leave a little tool mark, which isn't that big of a deal. Even many jewelers wind up doing that. And as you can see, there was no time delay in the process I just showed you. That was actual time it took to properly install a ring guard, as they call them. And now, let's say when you put this on, you go to put it on your finger and you shriek because, it won't fit, it's too much. Well, this is when you get to adjust it either way. You can either push down on the metal, like so, creating a dip and bend in it, which you can greatly increase the finger size by doing so, or you can also raise it, making it even smaller yet if you need to do that, like that. That will also help keep the ring from turning. So you have, once installed, options to be able to adjust the size afterwards. Now, if it ever becomes loose, through the process, you just go back in, you squeeze on those adjusting rings, and you've tightened it back up. So what we have next in this How Do You series, and this is the How Do You series, I think the only one we've done where you have to participate in solving an issue with a ring that you may have thought was never able to be sized, or a ring that if you sized it might remove an engraving on the inside, or maybe you just didn't want to do an arthritic shank that actually removes half of your original ring. They make a device that is spring-loaded. I'm going to show you how to install that spring-loaded device, and you can just request it, or from this picture be able to describe it or have the picture of it. Every jeweler knows of this device. This should be only a few dollars, $5, $6, and you put it in yourself. If it is done by them, it can be quite a bit more. This is something also that you can get at hobby shops. Now, this completely solves not only the problem of making a ring smaller, but it also will solve the problem if you have a larger knuckle where rings don't fit you or they turn on their side. It will actually solve that problem also for dollars versus an arthritic shank that is hundreds and hundreds of dollars. And if it's a platinum ring, it can be well beyond that. Here we have our ring guard. I'm trying to keep my fingers out of it. Normally I would just do this with my fingers, but I want you to be able to see what exactly occurs. So here we have the spring-loaded ring guard. Now you can't see the spring, it's a device hidden in there. Now you say it's yellow. The yellow, they actually make these in white, but the yellow can also just be polished off and leave it so it's white, or it can be rhodium plated over it. All right, so it is as simple as this. You place it to the inside. Did you notice the little tab? There's one tab that is on either side of the guard. This is very basic and very simple. Now, I have it in place. We'll center it up in just a moment, but again, like the other one, I want to get the tabs bent over enough that it will stay on the inside of the ring. So I'll take the piece in my hand, and this is where little fingers are involved just because it's easier and more effective. Now I'll turn it over so you can actually still see what I'm doing. Now you see the two tabs sticking up. I just want to temporarily lock it in place. All I have to do is just barely bend them in the only direction that they would logically go. And there you have it. Now you see it's not centered, but it doesn't matter. All we wanted to do was lock it so it wouldn't fall back out. Now I center it in the base of the ring, orienting it with the center of the middle stone so that it looks even. Okay, I see that it is even. Now I turn it upside down like you see that. I take my trusty needle nose and I apply just a little pressure. It is, even those of us with arthritis in our fingers can do this, even with your fingers if you needed to, or if you don't have a pair of pliers, you can literally take this against any piece of metal or even a piece of wood and press it down against the metal or wood and bend it over, completely securing it. Look at that. It's actually better than the one I did with the pliers. But what I wanted to do again was you do it a little at a time so that you can keep that middle piece in place. So we have those almost completely bent. Now let me show you the magic to this particular ring guard. When you go ahead and put it over your hand, if you think it won't fit over your knuckle, well, look at what it does. It will actually spring, as you can see it moving, it will actually spring open, and you can adjust it so that it springs more so or less so if needed. This is a method and way that I wouldn't normally reveal it because it can take food out of a jeweler's mouth, let's say, but it is only fair to want to share that with you, because for many of you, the sentimentality of a ring and the not wanting to touch or affect an original engraving may leave many beautiful pieces unable for you to use. And I don't want that for you. It's like many times I have sold a ring in my live shows that had an engraving on the inside, and you may think, oh, I would love to have bought that ring, but I would have needed it sized down and it would have removed the engraving, so therefore I don't want it. Because if it's got a date, it actually adds value to the piece, especially 1920s, 30s, those kind of things. So never fear. Unless you knew the product was available, how would you know there was a solution for you without having to actually cut and solder or do any kind of work on the ring that would affect the originality of the piece you bought? Now you know, because you learned it, you saw it here in the How Do You series, where I've taken you behind the bench once again.